Dream season football, week 13, we are headed so close to the ever-important playoffs. First matchup, AFC East rivalry, 8-3 Bills, 3-8 New York Jets, and an opening score by Thurman Thomas would make it 14-3 in the second. After a Jets rally to come within one, it would be the backup Smith who would gallop 77 yards for a touchdown to take the 21-13 lead. Then late in the fourth quarter, it would be a garbage touchdown to Don Maynard, but the final score would be 34-23 after this failed onside kick attempt recovered by Don Beebe. Bills are now 9-3, Jets 3-9. Two of the best teams in the NFC face off in Chicago. It would be a sluggish, muddy, wet, disgusting first three quarters, but in the fourth, it would be a touchdown to Torrey Holt, and then down by 7, Chicago would respond. It would be Willie Gault with a big 30-yard pass reception to get the Bears into the red zone, and Walter Payton would finish it off. 3rd and 16, Walter Payton on the 24-yard touchdown reception, showboating his way to a tie ball game at 14. Then with 1:09 remaining, Kurt Warner has the football. Pretty good chances they'll have some sort of drive here. They would get into Bears territory, then it'd be a Warner to Prohl connection to get into the end zone to take the lead. Of all people, Ricky Prohl, as they just left him uncontested on the left side, and 40 yards later, touchdown Rams, and they lead at 21-14. Now can the Chicago Bears respond? Big play to Tim Reitman to get to the 40-yard line. And then after a no huddle, McMahon would spike it, fake spike, and throw it to Walter Payton, who would get stopped and finish the game at the 17-yard line. Both teams now 9-3. Texans and Jaguars face off with zero playoff implications, but it would be all Houston in this game after a Vonta Leach touchdown for a 14-3 lead. It would be Kyle Walter who would seal the deal, the final 31-10 in Jacksonville. Raiders 2 games up on the Denver Broncos in the AFC West, while the Steelers desperately need this game as they are tied with the Baltimore Ravens and the Cleveland Browns. Early 7-3 score before it would be Theo Bell in the back corner to make it 10-7 in Pittsburgh at halftime. But in the third quarter, it would be all Steelers, as it'd be John Stallworth and then Franco Harris to get into the red zone, and a questionable penalty here as they would call it on pass interference on John Stallworth. And when you look at the replay, I see zero contact on the play. John Stallworth barely touching Neil Causey, but he calls it on him, and later it would be a Steelers 9-yard touchdown by Franco Harris to make it 17-7. But Cliff Branch and the Raiders were not done just yet. A huge 78-yard touchdown to make it a 3-point game, and then after a Steelers 3-and-out, Van Egan 36 yards to the end zone, 10-5, battling his way for a touchdown to take the lead 21-17. Now the Steelers need to respond, but they would fumble the football picked up by Matizak, and it would be a third straight touchdown by the Oakland Raiders in just over 2 minutes. Huge Steelers collapse here. Now the offense has to respond, down by 11. Theo Bell with the big reception, and then as they near the Raiders side of the field, it would be Terry Bradshaw with a big play to yet again Theo Bell. Now they're getting close to the red zone here, and then on 1st and goal from the 10, it would be Bradshaw to the end zone for the touchdown, Franco Harris to make it a 5-point game after a failed 2-point conversion. Now they need to force a 3-and-out, and Van Egan, in an ugly play, would lose 9 yards on the play, and it would force a 3-and-out. On this now or never Steelers drive, it would be Stallworth for 13 yards. Then on the following play, 2nd and 5 from the 18, it would be down to the 1-yard line. So 1st and goal, it would be a spike. 2nd down and goal, they need 1 yard here. Franco Harris would lose several yards on the play. Then Grossman to the end zone, incomplete. Sidney Thornton could not hold on, and now 4th and goal from the 6-yard line. Huge pressure here. Can the Steelers take first place in the North? The snap, looking, Grossman to the end zone, and it is incomplete. The Raiders hold and stop the Steelers from getting into the end zone. A big win here in Pittsburgh. The Oakland Raiders go to 10-2 on the season. Pittsburgh Steelers struggling at 6-6 in the division. Despite the Steelers' loss, Pittsburgh still has the tiebreaker over both the Browns and the Ravens. The Steelers really hope for both a Browns and a Ravens loss here in Week 13. An early touchdown by Biner makes it 7-3. But after this, it would be the Chargers. Early touchdown right before halftime would make it 10-7 at halftime. And then in the third quarter, after Browns 3-and-out, another Fouts touchdown, this time Joyner on the receiving end. A 9-point game before Ozzie Newsome makes it a 2-point game, 19-17 here in Cleveland. But as the third quarter was winding down, Chuck Muncie with the big play, keeping his toes in bounds and driving all the way to the end zone for a 26-17 score. But then the Browns on 3rd and goal from the 1 would have an incomplete pass and would have to settle for a field goal. And then after that, the Browns would hope for a 3-and-out, and that was what they would get. The Chargers would recover the fumble, but it would be the Browns that would get a 53-yard touchdown here to Kemp, who was wide open on the play. Now the Browns have the lead, but the Chargers are driving here with under a minute to go. Dwight Scales with a big one-handed catch. That would be followed by a 21-yard play to James Brooks on a big one to get near the Browns' red zone, and they would just send out the field goal unit with 9 seconds to go. Brnershka for the win. The snap, ball down kick looks good, and it is good. So the Chargers rally back in the final here, 29-27. Both the Ravens and Packers can get first place in their divisions with a win here today in Green Bay. Early second quarter, 3-0. Trent Dilfer with a bonehead interception, and Evans would return it 60 yards for a touchdown, and Green Bay leads at 7-3. But later in the third quarter, Dilfer will respond. A big 50-yard strike here to Patrick Johnson to take the lead 10-7. Then in the fourth quarter, 3rd and 10 from the 12, Brett Favre with a chance to win it, would throw it to the right, and it would get intercepted. Jermaine Lewis, and he would take it 97 yards for the touchdown. And guess what, folks? Your AFC North leader is none other than the Baltimore Ravens at 7-5 with the win here today. And both the Steelers and Browns are in deep trouble as the Ravens face the Lions next week. Meanwhile, in the NFC North, the Packers are still a game behind of the Bears. The Philly Eagles can knock off the Falcons from the playoffs with a win here today in Atlanta. The Falcons hold a 17-14 lead, and then after a Willie Buchanan pick 6 here, it would make it a 10-point game late in the fourth quarter, but the Philly Eagles would not die. They would score a field goal to make it a 7-point game. Then on the last play of regulation, it would be a touchdown to Terrell Owens to take the tie. Then in overtime, after a Philly 3-and-out, it would be an interception by Sheldon Brown. He would take it to the 10, 5, all the way to the 3-yard line. And that is where Akers had a chance to win the game here. Snap ball kick is good. And the Eagles knock off the Falcons from the playoffs with a 27-24 win. Falcons are now 5-7. Saints and the Redskins in Washington, a huge NFC rivalry. After a 7-0 start, it would be Pierre Thomas who would score another touchdown to make it 14-0 at the end of the first quarter. Then after a 21-0 start, it would be Theismann deep to the air. Art Monk hauls it in for the 71-yard touchdown for the only touchdown scored by the Redskins in the first half. Going to the second half here, it would be a Saints another touchdown to make it 28-7. The Redskins were not done just yet. It'd be Theismann to the end zone for the touchdown, but in the end, it'd be a huge Saints victory. The final 45-21 in Washington. Both teams 7-5 on the season. Tennessee comes in at 7-4, 2 games up on the 5-6 Indianapolis Colts, but they need a big win here. Otherwise, the Colts will cut it to just a half game here in the AFC South. After a 14-3 start, it would be the Titans who would finally get in the end zone before halftime. But then after several field goals, it would be a Titans drive to take the lead here. On 4th and 4, McNair throwing to the end zone, and it would get intercepted. Marlon Jackson and he takes it 100 yards the distance, people, all the way to the house to make it a 24-13 game. The Titans would score a late touchdown, but would pull within 5 with just 22 seconds to play. They would need an onside kick and a touchdown. Can they get it after the failed two-pointer? It would be the kick by Greco would be recovered, and that'll do it. The Titans have lost 5 out of their last 7 games. AFC West rivalry that seemed pretty much in hand from the start, and it looked exactly like that after a 17-3 start. Terrell Davis in the end zone for the touchdown early in the fourth quarter, but the Chiefs never say die to this team as they score a touchdown to McClinton to make it a 7-point game. Then the defense needs a 3-and-out, and on 3rd and 9 they would stuff Herndon, which would lead to the punt, and the Chiefs with Len Dawson would convert a 4th and 1 here, completing it to Frank Pitts. And then several plays later, it would be Len Dawson who would connect to his big play man Pitts for yet another completion. Then on the following play, it would be Garrett, 25 yards to the end zone, and now this game is tied, ladies and gentlemen. It would force overtime. The Chiefs get the ball first, and when do, 9 times out of 10, you win the football game. They drive down the field early on, and that would lead to this field goal attempt, and the kick would be good, and the Chiefs pull off the upset, and the Denver Broncos are now in trouble at 7-5, tied with the San Diego Chargers. Chiefs now 2-10. Cincinnati with a huge advantage here at home at a 4-7 start, and they would take advantage. Esias into the end zone for the touchdown, and they would eventually go on to win 21-17 over the now 1-11 Lions. Bucs Panthers here, huge NFC South rivalry. In the second quarter, it would be an atrocious play by Brad Johnson. He would give up the safety, and the Panthers hold a 5-3 lead. And then after that, it would be a Delhomme touchdown right before halftime. But then in the fourth quarter, the Buccaneers would take advantage of the Panthers' scoring drought and would beat them 13-12. Niners and Seahawks in game. San Francisco absolutely has to win to keep afloat in the NFC wildcard race. It would be an early Roger Craig fumble, and Lofa Tutupu would take that all the way the distance. But after that, it would be all San Francisco. 3 field goals in the first quarter, followed by a Jerry Rice touchdown early in the second. And then as the Seahawks pull within 6, it would be a Sean Alexander touchdown to take the lead. But then the 49ers would answer yet again. Mike Wilson keying on the long San Francisco drive that would get into the end zone. Roger Craig to take the lead 26-21, and that would be your final. Niners now 8-4, Seahawks 6-6. Cowboys Giants in a huge NFC East rivalry that would surprisingly come down to the wire. It would be Phil Simms to the end zone for the touchdown and the late lead 17-14, but after a Dallas field goal and one last chance with 3 seconds to go, Aikman would throw it deep for Martin, who would break several tackles and would score to win the football game for the Dallas Cowboys, and they hold the first place lead in the NFC East with a 24-17 win. If the Cardinals want to keep pace with the Niners, they will have to have a win here today at home in Arizona. But it would be a 21-0 start by the Minnesota Vikings before the Cardinals would finally get on the scoreboard, and they would take it all the way into the lead off of that, 24-21. Leonard Pope in the end zone, but at the end, it would be Adrian Peterson and the Vikings that would win the football game 28-24. Cardinals fall to 7-5. Big AFC East rivalry in Week 13 here. It would be an early Dolphins safety as Mercury Morris could knock it out of the end zone. It would be 2-0. And then eventually it would be Tom Brady to the end zone for the touchdown to make it 9-0. And the Patriots would go on to win 15-7. Now we will check up on the updated Week 13 standings here in the NFL. The Raiders get to 10 wins so far in the season. Titans are in trouble along with the Ravens at 7-5, yet the Bills at 9-3 have that division in hand. The Ravens control the wild NFC West here after 13 weeks. Cowboys, Bears, and Bucks hold the rest. Thank you for watching this presentation of the Dream Season Football League. Make sure to tune in next time. And while you're at it, find the Dream Season Football League on Facebook.